Welcome in the Question and I podcast. My name is Seth Warner, and today on this podcast, we talk about Kentucky basketball from fans' perspective. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about Kentucky's rough loss to Georgetown at home to close out the end of exhibition play. And I thought there was a little bit of miscommunication, but this is the D1 Georgetown, not the Kentucky Georgetown. Just wanted to make sure to clarify for that. This is Patrick Ewing's old Georgetown. So in this game, Kentucky really struggled. Also, later on in the episode, I'm going to be talking about Kentucky's upcoming game against Nichols, a game that Kentucky's going to be opening this season, playing, and just overall feel going into that after a rough start for Kentucky in the Georgetown game, and just overall status and what I'm thinking the rotation will look like going into that game. In this Georgetown game, like I said, Kentucky had a really rough time on the offensive end in particular, shooting a horrendous 33% from the field, 20 of 60. And in the first half, shooting 13 of 31 and shooting 7 for 29 in the second half, only at 24%. And also just overall just struggling to put the ball in the basket. Struggling from the free throw line, missing 12 free throws, shooting 65%, being 23 of 35. And just overall not having a good flow to the offense, with also a high turnover rate, having 15 turnovers and 5 of those coming 15 turnovers, right, with 5 of them come from Colin Chandler, who was Kentucky's pseudo point guard, and with 2 of them coming from Jasper Johnson, who kind of played the backup point guard role, while each of them having a negative assist-to-turnover ratio as Kentucky's 2 leading guards in this game running the point guard position. Kentucky was able to win the rebounding battle, was one impressive thing I thought they did. Was one really big positive. Kentucky had 16 offensive rebounds to Georgetown 6, while also having 22 defensive rebounds to their 24, and out rebounding Georgetown by 8, being able to really control the glass while not being able to control the possession battle with their high turnovers and just inability to knock down shots. And to me, we had several bad shots in this game, and that really transitions to turnovers. Even bad shots turn into turnovers just with that transition and just creating easy opportunities. Where in this game, this Georgetown team had 23 points off of turnovers, where we only had 12. They had 12 fast break points, and we only had 6, with a Kentucky team that I think could be one of the faster paces in the country. And while Kentucky also missed 12 free throws, only shooting at 65%, we picked it up a little bit, shooting 77% while missing 5 free throws in the second half. Without having Denzel Aberdeen or Jaylen Lowe, 2 guys that I would feel comfortable penciling in for that Nichols game coming back, especially Denzel Aberdeen, 2 guys that are going to be able to lead this offense, and 2 guys that can really knock the 3 down and just create for themselves and others. Otega Owe had 17 points, leading Kentucky in scoring, but it was on really inefficient, being 4 for 12, 1 for 4 from 3, and getting a lot of his points off free throws, where he shot 11 free throws, made 8 of them, but overall was just not efficient at all and just not in a good rhythm offensively. Mo Diabate, I thought, had a pretty good game, being 4 for 6 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, 4 for 5 from the free throw line, had 7 boards, had a negative assist to turnover with 1 assist to 2 turnovers, but overall, while having 13 points, offensive production that we really needed without 2 major scorers for Kentucky being out with injury. Jasper Johnson really struggled in this game. I talked about some of his turnovers, but was 3 for 10 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3. Had 7 points, but was just overall inefficient and just wasn't able to knock down shots at the rate that we need him without some of our other key players and getting shorter on the depth chart. Malachi Moreno, I thought, was very solid. He also had 7 boards, similar to Mo Diabate. He played 19 minutes in this game. Ended up with 6 points and was just had a good feel to him. He was one of the only players on Kentucky that had a positive assist-to-turnover ratio. He had 3 assists to 2 turnovers. As a big guy that's going to be handling as much as he does, that's a solid performance for him. And had a pretty nice stroke from 3. Missed the 1 free throw, but other than that, I thought he played really solid and defensively gave us some resistance at the rim, but overall, this team was good, not great defensively in this game, especially with all the pressure they put on their defense with being very inconsistent offensively or not good at all offensively. Trent Noah, a guy that we really needed to step up in this game as a knockdown shooter, floor spacer, struggled. He played 23 minutes, was 1 for 5 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3. He only ended up 1 rebound. He's a guy that usually gives you 4, maybe 5 if you're lucky rebounds and get you a couple offensive rebounds, scores. He only ended up with 4 points, had no turnovers in this game, but his 1-3 was really deep on the right wing. It was a nice shot, just wasn't able to get in a good rhythm and be a consistent offensive threat. For Georgetown, they were just able to really get hot early for this team, having Malik Mack. He played almost 30 minutes in this game. He had 22 points with 3 assists and 2 turnovers, also with 5 boards. And overall, just made some big-time shots. Him, Jeremiah Williams, and one other guy, they combined for 45 points out of their 84. So a little over half with 3 out of their 9 players that scored. And they were the only 3 in double figures. But we're able to create big-time shots and really able to limit this Kentucky offense without 2 of its primary creators and on-ball guys. They're really efficient from the free throw line, especially in the first half, being 8 for 10. They missed several free throws in the second half, being 9 for 13, only shooting 69%. Ended up shooting about 73% for the game. But from the field is really where they hurt us. Kentucky had a hard time containing the post, and some of those guards got away from us and were able to get paint touches and score, where they were shooting 55% from the floor, 54 second half, 56 first half. So really consistent there. And they also picked up some of the 3-point makes, being 3 for 8 from 3 in the second half, where they were only 2 for 8 in the first half. Ended up being 5 for 16 for the game, shooting about 31%. Got up a decent volume for this Georgetown team, but were really able to pick up their percentages in the second half. And in this game, Kentucky played pretty much all of their main key scholarship guys. Playing 9 guys. You got 3 more guys that could potentially enter the rotation. So we'll see how that ends up happening as the season progresses and we go into that Nichols game coming up on Tuesday for the Wildcats. Where it's kind of a reset button for the Wildcats, where Kentucky really struggled in their last game against Georgetown, especially on the offensive end. This Nichols team will most likely be worse than this Georgetown team, who had a lot of talented pieces. We weren't sure what they were going to be coming into the game, but they really played well. Kentucky struggled and were able to control that game pretty much from beginning to end, where Kentucky was able to make a couple runs at it, but really weren't able to establish themselves and establish the rhythm of the game that Kentucky wanted. And like I was talking about this Nichols game, Kentucky really needs to come out and establish that they're the better team and offensively be able to control the pace of the game. This Nichols team has a really good 6'7" wing who can handle the ball and is a really good scorer. So Kentucky needs to be able to contain the ball and be able to limit some of those downhill touches that Kentucky gave up a lot in that Georgetown game. Yeah, but overall for Kentucky, this is just a reset game, being the Aperia opponent for the next 2. So before we go into that November 11th game versus Louisville, where they looked a little sketchy the other day against Kansas. But we'll see when we get close to that date. And that's all from the Quest Number 9 podcast. My name is Seth Warner. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. And if you want to stay up to date when I post new episodes, go follow me at Quest Number 9 on Instagram and Twitter. And can't wait to go watch the Cats play on Tuesday, and I'll see you next time.